On this episode of the Layover Live, we're talking Facebook Local with Grant Stoltz, now with glasses. Welcome everyone to episode 6 of the Layover Live, where we bring you the top story from the Layover each week. I'm Jason Swick, Director of Digital Marketing, joined here by Grant Stoltz, and welcome back from Thanksgiving break. How was your Thanksgiving break?
It was good. Probably gained 5 to 15 pounds, but as is expected for Thanksgiving break.
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice to get some time off, spend some time with some family, and do all that good stuff.
And everyone missed us last week.
Of course they did.
But here we are.
We had a little time off, so welcome back, and we're happy to have you here. And this week's article that Grant and I wanted to feature on the Layover has to do with Facebook Local. It's a new app that came out, really just a rebranding of the events app for the most part. But I know there's been a lot of buzz around this, and maybe even some concern, but it's a great in-market tool. So Grant, maybe talk a little bit about Facebook Local and how that affects DMOs.
So Facebook Local came out with their app, about early November, so a few weeks ago, and it's caused a lot of stir, especially within the DMO space too. A lot of the concern has been around, is this going to replace DMO websites? Will it take traffic away? What exactly is going on with this app? And from just looking at the app from kind of a 1,000-foot view, it's more so a competitor to Yelp or Foursquare than it really is a replacement for a website. It functions in the same capacity as listings do, where you can sort by category, topic, and points of interest. But all it really does is just add that social layer that Facebook has. So you can see friends that have visited, things they've said about it. So nothing in particular any more different than what's on Yelp or Foursquare today. So
yeah, and I agree. And if anything, it's a good in-market tool, right? And I see from an in-market standpoint, again, just like Yelp is, if it's good for the traveler, then it's good for the destination. Someone coming to a destination then finds some useful user-generated content, is able to enjoy themselves more and experience more of your attraction. So if anything, I don't see it as a threat as much as I see it as a useful tool for DMOs. And it'll be a matter of time before they try to monetize it anyway.
Absolutely. Then you can start controlling what people see or how they see it, things like that. I think that'll be the next iteration of it. So this first launch of it, is definitely more so the listings functionality. It's the DMO websites that offer that local touch, that those local stories that a listings application like Yelp, like Facebook Local, they just can't replicate. So while there is advantages from the social side, there's just things that a website that a DMO has just blows that out of the water.
Yeah,
so no need to really concern with whether or not this will take away traffic, but more so maybe be concerned with how you can use that to boost, like you said, the user experience while they're in market or planning a trip to your destinations.
Yeah, very important. Something to keep an eye on for sure moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nothing too much to worry about there. So that now brings us then, if we're talking about paid media, let's talk about campaign structure. So we got a great question from Carla in Houston, who's asking, hey, what's the best way, when she's talking about paid search in general, but what's the best way for us to be able to structure our campaigns as they relate to our AdWords accounts, right? So Grant, you're here, you do a lot of stuff with AdWords. Maybe let's talk about some of the best ways to structure an account. How do you guys approach it?
Yeah, so I think the biggest point of talking about account structure is kind of twofold. The first being that accounts house all of your campaigns, and that's sort of the hierarchy where it's accounts, campaigns, ad groups, and then keywords. So that's kind of the way it's structured in that sense. The way I think we can make sure that there's proper structure is kind of mirroring your website hierarchy.
Yeah, that's a great way to
do it. So with your top level nav items, whether it be things to do, accommodations, whatever those top level nav items are, how those act as the campaigns, and then the important sub nav items be the ad groups in those campaigns. That just allows you just to control sort of the budgets a little more in depth, and then making sure your budgets are going to the exact campaigns you want, when you want. And also add in the element of geolocation targeting and other things of that nature.
Yeah, that's a great way just to go off your site's navigation. Now what about, because it's common, what about for DMOs who maybe are managing multiple domains under their umbrella? What's approach there? Do you recommend one account, multiple accounts? What do you think?
Yeah, well, it's hard because the biggest problem with having multiple accounts is that if you have multiple or duplicate keywords under the same account, Google recognizes that those are your keywords. They're not competing against one another. As soon as you break those out into separate accounts, that's when all of a sudden you run into the problem of Google thinking these are competing keywords and will actually increase your cost per clicks because they think these are two people trying to bid on the same term.
Makes it more competitive.
Exactly. So if you do have multiple domains that you are directing to, from AdWords accounts from different areas of the country or even worldwide, the strategy there would be to make sure that if a certain website is using the same keywords as another one, that you're making sure the areas you're targeting those keywords are not the same as the other.
Yeah.
So essentially,
if I'm targeting one with this city A and one with city B, it's fine. But if I'm both targeting city A with the same keyword set, then I'm going to be in trouble.
So I guess the easy way to do that, other than that, is just to make sure that if you do have separate accounts, the keywords are totally separate, and there's minimal, if any, crossover with those keywords, just to avoid any competition there. So. That's where it does get difficult, I know, to manage big domains with the same account. So that's where it's kind of a catch-22, where it makes it easier from a budgeting standpoint to be able to manage them account to account, but from the competition standpoint, it can be a little more difficult in terms of managing keywords to make sure there's minimizing competition.
Yeah. So short, just keep an eye on if you're managing multiple domains. Totally fine if we're separating across different geos that we're targeting that way. From an architecture standpoint, if we're mapping things at least initially off of the site navigation and then building things off that way, it's a great way to drive traffic to your site. And Carl, that's a really, really good question, so thank you for sharing that. As we mention every single week, we love to have your questions. We want to share those on the air, so please submit those each and every week so our team can go through those and feature those on the air. Other than that, that's it for this week. Thank you for your time, Grant, and we'll see you next week.